On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 departed Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 12:41 a.m., bound for Beijing. It was a routine red-eye flight, one of thousands operating across the globe that night. On board were 239 people, men, women, and children from 14 different nations. Among them were business travelers, tourists, families returning home, and flight crew. There was nothing unusual about the takeoff. The skies were clear, and communication with air traffic control was standard. At 1:19 a.m., the final communication from the cockpit was heard. "Good night, Malaysian 370. It was calm, routine, unremarkable. 2 minutes later, the aircraft's transponder stopped transmitting. Within seconds, the plane vanished from civilian radar. There was no distress call, no emergency broadcast, just silence. And then nothing. Initially, air traffic control believed the aircraft had entered Vietnamese airspace as expected. However, when MH370 failed to check in with Ho Chi Minh Control, concerns began to rise. Over the next several hours, Malaysian, Vietnamese, and Thai air controllers scrambled to determine the aircraft location. Conflicting information delayed a full-scale search. It wasn't until nearly 5 hours later that a formal alert was issued. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 was missing. By then, the plane's estimated fuel had long run out. Search and rescue operations began in the South China Sea, where the plane had last been tracked. Dozens of aircraft and vessels from multiple countries joined the mission. For days, they scoured the waters for wreckage, oil slicks, floating debris, anything. They found nothing. But then military radar data revealed something no one expected. The aircraft had made a sharp left turn shortly after the transponder went dark. It had crossed the Malay Peninsula and continued flying for over an hour, heading west and then south over the Andaman Sea. This was no accident. Someone or something had deliberately redirected the plane. The turning point in the investigation came from an unlikely source. Inmarsat, a British satellite telecommunications company. Although MH370 was no longer transmitting location data, it continued to ping Inmarsat satellites approximately once an hour. These automated handshakes revealed that the aircraft remained airborne for nearly 7 more hours after contact was lost. Using advanced Doppler analysis, investigators were able to estimate the plane's likely path. It appeared MH370 had turned south into the vast and remote southern Indian Ocean, one of the most desolate regions on Earth. With this new data, the search area shifted dramatically. What began in the South China Sea had now moved to a location thousands of kilometers off the western coast of Australia. A multinational search effort, led by Malaysia, China, and Australia, launched an extensive deep-sea survey. Specialized ships with sonar and underwater drones mapped the ocean floor. The search area covered over 120,000 square kilometers. Still, no wreckage was found. With little physical evidence, the world turned to speculation. Dozens of theories emerged, some grounded in aviation science, others bordering on conspiracy. One of the most widely discussed theories centers on Captain Zaharie Ahmad Shah, the 53-year-old pilot of MH370, a respected and experienced aviator with over 18,000 flight hours. Zaharie's personal life and mental health were placed under scrutiny. Investigators found that he had simulated a similar flight path on his home flight simulator. The simulated route ended deep in the southern Indian Ocean. Critics suggest this could point to a deliberate act of pilot suicide. Supporters argue the data was inconclusive and that Zaharie showed no signs of distress, radicalism, or instability. No suicide note was ever found, and no definitive evidence links Zaharie to any malicious intent. Another possibility is that a catastrophic systems failure occurred, knocking out communications and incapacitating the crew and passengers, such as a slow decompression that left the aircraft flying on autopilot until fuel exhaustion. However, experts point out that this doesn't explain the deliberate course changes or the manual disabling of transponders and ACAR systems. It also fails to justify why no distress signal was sent, a standard procedure even in emergencies. Some believe the aircraft was hijacked, either by individuals on board or remotely by unknown actors. A few passengers were briefly scrutinized after the incident, but no evidence was ever found linking anyone to a terror plot. Despite being ruled out by authorities, the idea of a covert takeover remains popular in public discourse. Another theory suggests that MH370 may have flown over or near military installations, leading to an accidental shoot-down or interception, later covered up by involved governments. Proponents of this theory point to delayed responses, conflicting radar reports, and a lack of transparency in the early stages of the investigation. Yet again, there is no conclusive proof to support these claims. After over a year with no leads, a breakthrough finally came. On July 29, 2015, a piece of aircraft debris, a flaperon, was discovered on Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean. It was confirmed to belong to a Boeing 777 and later definitively identified as part of MH370. Over the next few years, more debris washed ashore in places like Madagascar, Mozambique, South Africa, and Mauritius. In total, over 30 pieces of potential wreckage were found. While many were confirmed or deemed likely to be from MH370, most of the aircraft, including its fuselage, engines, and black boxes, remains lost. The debris confirmed that the aircraft crashed into the ocean, but revealed little about how or why. By January 2017, after nearly 3 years and $150 million spent, the official search was suspended. It was one of the most extensive and expensive search efforts in aviation history, and yet it ended without full resolution. In 2018, the private marine exploration company Ocean Infinity began a new search under a no-find, no-fee agreement. Their advanced equipment and unmanned underwater vehicles allowed them to cover vast areas more efficiently. Despite their efforts, no new debris or wreckage was located. However, Ocean Infinity has expressed interest in resuming the search again in the future, if new data becomes available. Today, multiple independent analysts and researchers continue to examine drift patterns, oceanography, and satellite data to better pinpoint the aircraft's final location. Some believe that with improved technology and updated modeling, a future search may yet succeed. Behind the data, the maps, and the speculation are the families, the people left behind. For them, MH370 is not just a mystery. It's a wound. Parents have aged without answers. Children have grown up without closure. Wives, husbands, sons, and daughters still wait for news that may never come. Each year, memorials are held. Flowers are released into the sea. Names are read aloud. And questions remain. How could planes simply vanish? Why did no one stop it? What really happened in those final hours? The disappearance of Flight MH370 shocked the aviation world, not only because of the loss, but because it exposed gaps in global flight tracking. In response, international aviation authorities have introduced new safety protocols, including enhanced aircraft tracking using automated satellite systems, improved communication between air traffic control across national boundaries, mandatory real-time data transmissions in certain flight zones. Still, critics argue that more must be done to prevent such a tragedy from ever occurring again. The case also serves as a cautionary tale that even in an age of instant information, advanced technology, and global surveillance, a commercial aircraft can still vanish and the truth can still remain elusive. As of today, the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in aviation history. A modern aircraft, a seasoned crew, a routine flight, and then gone. The lack of definitive answers has left a void filled with speculation, grief, and frustration. The Indian Ocean holds its secrets tightly, and the families of those on board continue to wait, hoping for closure or at the very least clarity. Until then, MH370 remains a symbol of loss, mystery, and fragility of certainty in our modern world. A question without an answer, a flight without an end. If you found this story compelling and want to explore more unsolved cases, real-life mysteries, and chilling disappearances, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Thank you for watching.